Everybody, listen, I want to encourage you as you're going through this week. It's ending now. We're going into the next week. What have you done this week? And if you haven't, that's fine. But what are some things that you can celebrate? What are some small wins that you're excited about? So often I see people that because they haven't hit giant, massive goals at the end of their week, they beat themselves up and they spin on this cycle, and then it goes back to Monday, and then they get upset about that. And they're looking for things outside of them and around them to validate and approve that they're on the right track. You don't need anyone's approval for your dreams but yourself. You don't need anybody to validate that you're on the right track but yourself. If you believe in yourself and you know that you're going in the right direction, it can actually be damaging and detrimental to seek approval from other people for where you're going. Because then what ends up happening is you're also then giving up their approval to allow you to go forward. You're basically seeking an allowance for you to start to go after your dreams. And I see this happen so often with people. They got big goals. They have a plan. In fact, they know where to go. They know what to do, but they're looking for somebody to tell them it's okay for you to move forward. Listen, if you're looking for somebody to tell you that, I'm going to say that right now. It's okay for you to move forward. You don't need anybody else to give you a gold star or a stamp of approval that your dream is on the right track. You don't need anybody to validate that your choices are right. But oftentimes when we have a track record, maybe we've failed in the past, maybe we've made bad choices, maybe we've gotten hurt in the past, we're looking for other people to take the responsibility away from us for the pain that we feel when we move forward. Meaning that if we go after our dreams and it fails, we want to blame somebody else for why it didn't work out. We want to blame somebody else for why it failed. And so when we're looking for approval from other people, we're seeking to give up the authority, meaning of our lives, the autonomy, the agency of our lives to go after our dreams to somebody else, and set that way we have a plan B. That way we have a scapegoat. If I fail at this, I can blame that other person because they approved me to do this. And we go into this blame game instead of taking ownership over our choices, taking ownership over what we're going to do. And we constantly get into this game of blame shifting. Have you done that? Maybe you say, no, I'm not blame shifting. I'm just looking for people to tell me if I'm on the right track. Why is that? Why are you looking for other people to tell you that you're on the right track? Do you not trust yourself enough? And if you say, no, I don't trust myself and I trust these other people enough, well, then you also better blame them for why you're not moving forward if you're going to do that. Because that's probably what you've been doing. You probably have been blaming these other outside things for why you can't move forward. The fact of the matter is, the reason why you're not moving towards your goals is because you've chosen not to. Is because you've made a choice to wait until you get approval to go after your goals, to go after your dreams. You're waiting until somebody else says that you're approved. And oftentimes this comes from not feeling confident in ourselves, from the pain that we've experienced in the past. Listen, you don't need anybody's approval for your dreams but yourself to go after it. You don't need anybody to tell you that you're good enough, that you're worthy enough to go after it. Now, oftentimes we're seeking that from other people because we're looking in the wrong place. We're actually looking to other human beings for what only God can provide. We're looking to people for what only God can give us. We're looking to other people to take the place of when we have trouble hearing and praying and our prayers aren't answered, or maybe we're waiting for somebody else to take the place of our faith. And we're putting our faith into somebody else instead of trusting in ourselves, trusting in God to direct our path, and wanting to give up the authority of our mission to somebody else. You don't need anybody's approval for your dreams but yourself. You don't need anybody to tell you this is the path you should go. Now, if you're seeking a mentor, somebody that you can trust, somebody that can guide you and give you strategy and point in the one direction or another, that's great. And that's good to find wise people to do that. But I want to tell you this. The people that you're probably listening to, that you're seeking approval from for your dreams, are not those people. They're not wise people that they have a vested interest in you succeeding because of what they can get out of it. And so if you're constantly looking to the approval of other people to tell you that you're on the right track, you're going to be led all over the place. Your focus is going to be all over the place because you're trying to be a people pleaser to these people. You're trying to please these people that approve of you, because if they approve your dream, then you're now responsible to please them for your dream. And if you don't, then you can throw it back on them for why you didn't reach it. And this is a vicious cycle that people get in of people pleasing. By the way, I'm saying all this to you because I've experienced this. This is how I've lived my life for years. This is how even right now, I find myself doing things that I'm like, oh man, I was seeking approval from other people. I was trying to be a people pleaser in that area. I was giving up what I felt in this area. You know, if somebody says, hey, you're not doing good enough here, or somebody says, hey, I think you need to do better here. And I know in my heart, I'm doing the best I can in that area, giving up my no and my yes and my autonomy and my agency and my beliefs to somebody else's opinion because I'm looking to get validated by other people. And I'm constantly doing things to find validation from other people. And this is a vicious cycle. And the only time that I've ever found that I can start to break through, start to move forward, start to actually get some of my goals accomplished, get some of those things that, okay, I said I'm going to do this, now I'm going to go after it. The only time that I ever started to move forward towards those things is when I stopped looking to other people for approval. When I started saying no to the things that I should say no to, and saying yes to the things that I should say yes to, instead of giving up whether I'm approved or disapproved, validated or invalidated to other people's opinions, and started really trusting in myself, trusting in people that are wise counsel in my life, trusting in people that have my best interests, that don't have ulterior motives, and trusting God enough to say, listen, I trust that you have my best interest in mind, that you will never leave me astray, that you will not lead me in a path of destruction. And every time that I've looked to people for approval for my dreams, in the place of God, my wife, and even sometimes even putting on my wife too much expectation of her to approve me for things, when she's like, listen, I'm waiting for you to rise up and go after what you were called to do. I'm not the one that's going to give you what you need for that. You need to go to God and pray and trust that the direction that he's directing you is the right path, and stop looking to other people to validate that you're good or not. You know, growing up, we look to our parents to approve us if we're doing the right thing or not. We look to people, and these are people are fallible. We're looking to people that make mistakes, that fail, to take the place of God in our lives. And we're looking for other people to approve us that our dream is right. When in fact, all we need to do is remember who we are, what we were made for. And if we don't know what that is, we need to say, God, show me. God, show me what the plans that you have for my life are. And pray that. And just do a simple prayer. If you never tried this before, say, God, show me what the next step is. Just try it. And then trust that he'll show you. It'll just trust it. Just try it out if you've never done that before. God's always speaking. God is always talking and showing us, whether it is through somebody that comes in our life or not. Sometimes we'll get a word from people sometimes. But if we're looking to other people for approval for our dreams, we'll never reach them. We have to learn to trust ourselves, trust God, and trust that the plans that he has for us are right and good, and then walk on a path one foot in front of the other, taking steps of faith, taking leaps of faith into the unknown, in the face of uncertainty, in the face of not knowing exactly what we should do, not having it all together, not having all the pieces all together right away. Being okay with the fact that we don't have a guarantee, but we know that the next step, one foot in front of the other, meaning step one, we don't have step 2, 3, 4, and 5 already figured out yet, and that's okay. But we know, hey, step one is right here. I'm going to take step one in faith, even though I don't know how it's going to pan out, even though I don't know how it's going to work together, to trust that it's good for me and to take that step forward. You don't need anyone's approval for your dreams to take those steps forward in your life. You don't need anybody to validate you enough to take that step forward. And this is a conflicting message, because then people are like, well, what about wise counsel and mentors? Start to ask God to show you and point out people that are safe for you to listen to. Oftentimes we can have a pattern where we're listening to people that don't have our best interest in mind. And throughout our lives, we start to manifest this pattern where we start listening to the voices that we shouldn't and don't listen to the ones that we should. And this is, again, I'm telling you from experience. I've done this. And I started to pray. I said, God, who should I listen to? And God was like, this person. Who should I not be listening to? This person. I said, but God, that's hard. It's going to be painful. It's going to be hard to and God's like, no, it's what you got to do. You got to start trusting me. You got to start trusting the plans that I have for you. Start trusting yourself. God says, listen, I've given you wisdom, and yet you're not trusting that wisdom. And then we're complaining and wondering why we're struggling, because we're seeking approval from other people that only God can give in our lives. You don't need anybody's approval for your dreams but yourself. I'm talking about human beings here. And God. And listen to God. And trust in God. I'm not, when I say you don't need anybody's approval for your dreams but yourself, I'm not saying that, we throw God aside either. I'm just saying seeking other people to validate us, seeking other people to say we're good enough to do this. You don't need that. What you need to do is start putting one foot in front of the other, taking steps of faith, taking leaps of faith, going forward. Here's another one right here. I'm just going to close out with this. So often we're seeking a word of approval from other people. I got this from my friend Rick Pino. He says, but we haven't done anything with the word that God gave us in the last season. And we're looking for a new word. And then we keep getting the same word over and over again. It's in stereo. Start doing something with the word that you already got in the last season. Start putting one foot in front of the other instead of trying to find another path or another way or another person to validate or approve you in that direction. And start moving forward. What have you done with the words that God's given you in the last season? Now, oftentimes, again, the patterns that worked in the last season aren't for this season. Think about it this way. This is great. So if you got a word in the last season, you did nothing to it, your pattern is doing nothing with that word from the last season. So change your pattern, do something with that word, and then watch everything start to fall into place, because you're now trusting. You're now in the stream of trust, of faith. You don't need anybody's approval for your dreams. Just start moving forward. Just start walking in faith, putting one foot in front of the other. I'm not talking about neglecting community. I'm not talking about neglecting spiritual authority. I'm not talking about not having wise counsel. I feel like this message gets twisted sometimes, where people are like, well, you say I don't need anybody's approval, I don't need nobody. Well, God made us for community and connection. God made us to have people in our lives. But he also gave us a heart to hear his voice and to trust. You don't need anybody's approval for your dreams but yourself. And you need to start to trust yourself and approve yourself the way God does, the way God sees you. Start seeing yourself the way that God sees you. And start putting one foot in front of the other. Keep moving forward. Grow your life, everybody, and we'll talk soon.